Those were the first words out of my neighbor James's mouth, eyes wide, hand shaking as he pointed to the spot in front of my garage. Karen from the HOA. She just cut the lock and had your Jeep towed. Said it was abandoned property. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Not just because it was my Jeep, but because that vehicle wasn't mine in the way most people think. That Jeep was part of a multi-agency narcotics task force operation. A seized vehicle. Evidence. Bait. We'd spent weeks prepping the sting, and now, Karen, queen of the HOA, had just blown the whole thing to hell. Let me back up. My name's Sam. I'm a detective in a mid-sized city, part of an undercover task force that focuses on organized drug trafficking. Most of the time, people assume the job is like what they see on TV, high-speed chases, dramatic arrests. But really, it's a lot of paperwork, waiting, and patience. Until, of course, someone like her sticks a wrench in your plans. I live in a relatively quiet suburban neighborhood. Cookie-cutter homes, manicured lawns, nosy neighbors, and at the top of the nosiest list, Karen, president of the HOA, self-appointed guardian of all things aesthetic, and an absolute nightmare to deal with. She was the kind of woman who measured grass with a ruler and handed out citations for having mismatched patio furniture. For the past 6 weeks, I'd been parking the confiscated Jeep, a beat-up 2001 Grand Cherokee, in my driveway. It wasn't flashy. In fact, it was the opposite. Dented, mud-streaked. We wanted it to look like it belonged to someone on the edge, someone involved in drug deals. It was perfect. Hidden inside were listening devices and trackers, all prepped to go for an upcoming sting. I'd filed the necessary paperwork with the department and even spoke to my immediate neighbors about it. Everyone knew I was using it for work, and most were cool about it. Everyone except Karen. She started small. Notes on my door about unsightly vehicles. An email from the HOA board. Then citations for mechanical leakage and improper storage. I explained each time, respectfully, that I was a law enforcement officer working a case, and that the vehicle was part of it. She didn't care. Her face always turned this particular shade of tight-lipped fury whenever I mentioned the word police. I got the sense she didn't trust cops. Maybe had a bad run-in at some point. But that didn't give her the right to interfere. Last Thursday, I left early for a meeting with my commanding officer. The Jeep was padlocked in place on the driveway, with wheel locks and a boot, all part of the setup, meant to mimic someone trying to keep a hot car hidden. When I came back in the afternoon, it was gone. Gone. That's when James ran up to me with the story. Karen had apparently called a tow truck, told them it was abandoned, and supervised as they cut the lock and hauled it away. I couldn't even speak. My mind was already racing through the implications. That Jeep had active surveillance running. Equipment worth tens of thousands. Worse, it had ties to an ongoing operation we couldn't afford to expose. If anyone tampered with the gear or the files. I called my captain, then the tow company. Then, reluctantly, I walked over to Karen's house. She answered the door with a self-satisfied smile, the kind that made me instantly clench my jaw. Oh, Officer Sam. I was wondering when you'd show up. You're welcome, by the way. That eyesore was ruining the neighborhood. Karen, I said slowly, trying to stay calm, that vehicle was evidence. Federal evidence. Part of an ongoing investigation. She rolled her eyes. Don't pull that official police business nonsense with me. You've had junk sitting there for weeks. You should thank me for cleaning it up. You cut a police lock, entered my property without permission, and had evidence towed. I pulled out my phone. Do you realize the legal implications of what you've done? She scoffed. You think I'm scared of your little threats? I run this neighborhood. That's when 2 unmarked black SUVs pulled up. Task force officers. Our team. I didn't call them, but my captain clearly had. Out stepped Agent Ruiz, a no-nonsense deal liaison with the glare of a drill sergeant. Ma'am, he said, flashing his badge, you need to come with us for questioning. Now. Her smug smile evaporated. It turned out Karen didn't just tow the Jeep, she went through it. Opened the glove compartment. Had the tow company pop the trunk. One of the tow operators said she was looking for something to prove the guy's lying about being a cop. What she found instead were listening devices, a burner phone with coded messages, and a sealed evidence bag containing trace narcotics residue, all cataloged and documented for trial use. She had officially tampered with federal evidence. We couldn't arrest her on the spot, the legal system doesn't work that fast, but the tow yard gave a full statement, and our department filed charges within days. property tampering, interference with a federal investigation, illegal entry, and destruction of government equipment. The story blew up locally. HOA president arrested for meddling in police operation. She was forced to resign, fined, and may still face jail time, depending on how the courts rule. I'd like to say I felt vindicated, and part of me did. But mostly, I just felt tired. Tired that someone's need for control and authority could come so close to unraveling months of careful work. Tired that people like Karen think rules don't apply to them. Still, there was a silver lining. After the incident, neighbors started reaching out. Even ones who'd kept their distance. One by one, they told me stories of Karen's overreach, tickets for toys on lawns, threats for not painting mailboxes, harassing letters. A group came together to demand transparency in the HOA, and elections were held a month later. The new president, James, the same neighbor who warned me about the Jeep. Things are quieter now. The operation went ahead, with a different vehicle, unfortunately, and led to 3 major arrests and the seizure of over $1 million in product. The task force got the job done. Justice was served, eventually. But the message I took from it all: sometimes, the biggest threats to order don't come from criminals. They come from people who think they know better, and act without thinking about the consequences. So next time someone says, it's just an old car, or, you don't need to know why something's there, maybe, take a breath. Ask a question. Trust that you don't have the whole story. Because if you assume the worst, you might just cut the wrong lock and unlock a whole lot of trouble.